We don't condone the use of any illegal substance or any illegal activity. This video is intended for instructional and educational purpose only. Watch at your own risk. Viewer discretion is advised.
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
And they got it with a green leaf sway. See bunnies rolling up, we light it all way. Mr. Getter's got the bombs, we puffin' all night. Talking cultivation, yeah, we're feeling alright. Light it up, feel the vibe, let it be known. Garden cultivation network, we on the scene. Rolling that green, living out the dream. Chatting about the strains, how to plan it right. Join us every week, yeah, we light up the night. Wednesday to Friday, we keep it alive. Cannabis talks, everybody's feeling high. Sharing secrets of the grow, it's a sacred art. In this cultivation game, you gotta play your part. Keep it real, keep it tight, watch the plants grow. Garden cultivation network, we on the scene. Rolling that green, living out the dream. Chatting about the strains, how to plan it right. Join us every week, yeah, we light up the night.
Hello, hello. I always do that.
Hello.
Welcome to the show. We are Garden Cultivation Network,
Yes,
and we have a very,
we
very
are.
special. We have a very, very special premiere tonight. Normally we do
We
these
do,
live, but
but
tonight, go ahead.
oh, go ahead. I was gonna
Oh, go
say
ahead.
before we get into it, just a reminder that we are over on Spotify under Garden Cultivation Network. We are also over on Instagram under Garden Cultivation Network. Mr. Dash Ganix and Sea Bunny Grows too. So on this week we have da, 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 da.
Mr. H from BudTrainer.
We do. How exciting.
Oh,
Welcome.
how's it going?
Hi
How you doing
guys,
tonight?
thanks for having me. Excited to be here.
Absolutely. We've been trying
Thank
to
you
get
for
you
coming
for
on. Yes.
My pleasure.
Yes.
Representing
anytime, man.
the cannabis community.
Hell yeah. Yeah, so maybe we can actually start there, but before we do, we'll get you to kind of give everybody a little heads up on who you are and what it is you do.
For those who
Awesome.
don't know, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
my name is Enrique, or H for short, and I'm the CEO of BudTrainer. I started BudTrainer 4 years ago. We make gardening products that last a very long time and that are very easy to use for people who love growing cannabis at home and who like to grow, high quality plants. So we're super passionate about growing ourselves. I myself am a mechanical engineer with a background in commercial cannabis production. This is actually my sweater from Niagara College when we graduated the program a few years ago.
Nice.
So I kind of took those two backgrounds together to make gardening products that I felt I needed, at home. And those turned out to become, you could say, somewhat successes in the market that we're trying to make into even bigger successes today. So that's a little bit of a brief of who I am and what we're doing today.
Nice. That's cool.
Nice.
So you must have
It
jumped
is.
in like right around the time that that cannabis became legal here in Canada. You must have got right in there as soon as they first came out with that program, I imagine.
It was so I started growing right after it became legal, and the program did start like as soon as it legalized as well. They kind of had everything prepared for that legalization, but I didn't take the program until a couple of years later. So legalized in 2018. I started growing, and that was like October, I believe, like it was end of the year. So I started growing the very next
Yeah.
summer outdoors. That was my first grow, and then again the year after, and growing indoors that second year. And that's where the passion really took. And I knew I had already heard about the program. It was kind of like in the back of my mind. But at the time I was working and I had, a career in consulting with startups, doing marketing for them, and that was going well. So I didn't, really dive into the cannabis space too much until COVID hit, and everything
Mm.
changed in that sort of marketing consulting world. And I was like, hey, you know what, this is not a bad time to maybe go back to school. The program at Agri College, they adapted very quickly to all of the recommendations I had to wear, like mask on top of mask on top of mask and a beard net and everything like that. So all of the photos that we have inside of like the labs is just a bunch of people full of nets and masks all over the
Masks.
face.
Yeah,
You can't tell who's who, but
in your spacesuits.
exactly. Yeah, that's pretty much
Yeah.
how I felt. It took so long. Like, I had to just get to this little vestibule every time and just put on like all of this, PPE gear just to make sure that we weren't transmitting COVID to each other. It turned out to work pretty well. There were no
Yep.
outbreaks, and we managed to get through the program. It was cool to, be able
Nice.
to be in person there to do the labs with the plants and everything. So
Do it, yeah.
it was a couple of years later, going back to your point. It was a couple of years after the program was implemented that I really went and took it, and then graduated in 2021. So Lori, who
Okay.
came into our podcast, into our Growing Buds a couple of times, she was one of my teachers, and she took the very, very first cohort of that program when they launched, and then she just basically stayed as a
That's
teacher
cool.
since then. Yeah, so the program has been around
Pretty cool.
for a while. There's people from all over the world that take it. It's pretty cool to see the interest in cannabis, and being able to come and kind of like take a college level degree to learn how to grow at scale.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that is
So
actually
how
pretty
did
amazing.
your family feel about you taking a course that involved cannabis?
Yeah, it's a great question. That's funny. I think I solved the family problem like before that. Well, I've been consuming cannabis for what, 10, 12, maybe, yeah, longer than that, even 12, 13 years. And consuming a lot, maybe like for 10 years. And
Yeah.
it was, I think, in Canada, like I'm myself, I'm from Brazil. We moved here in 2009, like my family, my parents, myself, my sister, and went straight into university. But I think that they started realizing that cannabis was just more accepted around here. In Brazil, it's quite frowned
Yeah.
upon, and
Yeah.
where I'm from, right? So it's very like a very criminal activity. You know what I mean? You gotta
Yeah.
go through leaps and bounds to get your hands on it. And
Yeah.
here, it's just more of like a free circulation thing. It's been medicinally legal since 2001, and with that, I think that my parents just looked at it differently, and I would eventually say, "Oh, I'm just going out there with my friends. We're just going to smoke a joint and come back inside." You know what I mean? So at least they
Yeah.
Yeah.
would kind of like know that we're there, that we're getting stoned, but they're kind of like aware of it. So they were never really against it. They know better than to just say you can't do this or that.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that also they don't want to be like, oh, I want to. If you're going to do this, then we're not going to have that type of relationship anymore. So yeah, it just took
Yeah.
took a long time, and took small steps. But once I said I was going to go into this, I just told them like, this is a big industry, and there's
Yeah.
I think a lot of potential here, and it's just starting. I have the opportunity to be part of something that has already started a long time ago, but it's really just starting. You know what I mean? From the legal
Absolutely. Yeah.
So they're a
Yeah.
lot more supportive now.
yeah, and more curious as
That's
well.
pretty-
So
Yeah, which is
That's
great.
that's the cool that they're curious about it, that they want to know more about it, because
Yes.
like you said, coming from another country where it's so frowned upon, and then coming here like 15 years ago,
yeah,
you know,
that's right.
I mean, that's pretty impressive that they took that and kind of they went with the it's not that big of a deal route instead of the no,
Yeah.
just because it's so frowned upon in other places, especially in places like Brazil. So I think that's pretty awesome.
And
And the
now
fact that
Brazil's.
go
Sorry, go
ahead.
ahead.
I was going to say the fact that that you were able to go to school and turn this into a career. makes it
is
even cooler that
amazing.
they were supportive about it. So no, that's awesome.
Yeah.
100%. Yeah, I was going to say also in Brazil now things are changing a lot and it's becoming more and more, legal in more and more places medicinally, and they're starting to bring not like flower necessarily, but cannabis extracts and different medicinals, and
Yeah.
people are being able to get more and more prescriptions. I don't think they're past 1 million yet, but they're in the hundreds of thousands of people already prescribed, and then people can get licenses to grow at home as well. So there's even a little bit of a home growing market starting to develop there,
Yes.
and the tide is really shifting. And I think that once it becomes legal in Brazil, like it's going to be, it's going to be a huge thing, because Brazilians are
Oh
just
yeah.
Yeah.
they're going to jump all over
It's
it.
it's gonna be like Spain or Germany when when it went legal there. Like that was huge. So that's pretty cool. Is there any BudTrainer products over in Brazil that you know of yet?
No, not yet. We
Not
did
yet.
speak with a couple of Brazilian, businesses maybe a year or two ago. Maybe we have to revisit it now in 2025. Things are, changing. I do know that in larger cities, they have grow shops. They have like hydroponic stores, full on hydroponic stores. You know
Yeah.
what I mean?
Huh.
Selling your tents and everything. And apparently it's like super expensive there because they're importing everything, right? So it's not like
Yeah.
Yeah.
it's manufactured there, and a lot of times they're not importing directly from the source; they import from wherever the supplier is. So with that, I think that it's still a nascent market, but I feel like as with any market, the medicinal market starts growing. Bless you, and the people start growing more and more at home, right? So that's, I think, what's going to happen there in Brazil as well. We've already spoken with like South Africa too. It didn't turn out to happen anything there, but like these funny mark, Thailand was another one when it was becoming legal there that we spoke with someone there as well, but just didn't go anywhere. So it's kind of like
Yeah.
I think that there's a lot of these different markets that are going to be interesting to see, and I feel like once they establish a little bit more, is a good time for home growing or home growing brands to really
Absolutely.
go in.
Yeah.
Well, and the cool thing about your guys' products is they're not just for cannabis. Like
No,
um
not at
I've
all.
gr- I've grown tomatoes in some of your butt trainer pots and vegetables and stuff like that. So it's not just for cannabis. I mean, maybe the clips per se, but I mean, really, honestly, you could train whatever plant you want. So, I mean, it's a,
Exactly. Now we
there's a
have
big market for just growing in general on outside of cannabis. So, I mean, maybe you guys could roll into something like that in places like that, just to get the
yeah,
product over there. But
there's a lot of people who grow cannabis and grow other things. There's people who grow other things and grow cannabis as well. You know what I mean? There's people who just grow
yeah,
cannabis. We decided to focus the brand on cannabis because it's hard as a grower to go out there and be like, what do I need to really grow cannabis? And having a brand that is just for cannabis makes it easy to know that their products are for cannabis. But like you said,
yeah,
um, the fact that, say, the bud pots are the only grow bags with a metal rim on top that doesn't let it collapse when you're filling, transplanting, watering, training, that makes it attractive for tomato growers,
I
pepper
don't know.
growers, whatever growers that want something that doesn't collapse, right? And the bud clips, there
Yeah,
are crops too that use them, like pepper growers like to use
yeah. I
little clips.
started thinking that after I said it, I was like, you can use these for other plants for sure.
That's right, exactly. Yeah,
Yeah,
tomatoes not so much because tomatoes they need more support, like the other way up. You know what I mean? Versus
Yeah.
pulling them down, right? Or cucumbers, for example, that they need something to kind of like climb, right? But
hang on, yeah.
exactly. But
I
that's
I
kind
will
of
say though, I've seen some pretty creative people using the bud clips. I've seen some pretty creative ways of using those. Like there's like the traditional way, but I've seen I think I learned it probably from you guys where you can clip them together and do like the almost like mainlining.
that's
Or
right.
I've seen people hooking them together to like hook their branches so that they're not falling over and like reminds me of like do you remember the monkeys in the barrel? They
Yeah,
hook
yeah,
them
yeah,
all
yeah,
Oh,
into
yeah,
each
yes,
yeah.
other.
Those
It
yes.
ones. Yeah.
reminds me it reminded me of that when I first saw it. I was like, "Oh, good idea."
Yeah,
So
so there's a lot of people who have those 180 clips, which are one, right? But we made them in a way that if you hook the two little arms, they go inside each other into the main stem, and then you have a 180 there. Or some people I have seen, they put two together like this, so you have a really strong like band down. Or like you said, you just use them as little monkeys, and they just swing from
yeah,
one another like that, right? So
that was cool. Yeah,
no,
nice.
for sure.
And I don't want to say recently, but like I want to say your newest product. Your newest product that I know of, you guys came up with your Bud Cups to replace the whole solo cup game. Get rid of all the red cups in our gardens. You guys came out with the Bud Cups. So instead of pulling the whole thing out, you can just push the bottom up.
Yeah,
I
I
think it's
love my
absolutely
bud cup.
amazing. You don't have to disturb the roots. You don't have to, you don't have to yank on the stems, nothing like that. So I would love to know how you guys came up with that idea.
Yeah, I mean, for anybody who doesn't know the Bud Cups or how they work, just check them out at budtrainer.com. Or if you just go to bit.ly/Bud Cups, it takes you straight to the page as well. And you guys can see what we're talking about here. I actually don't have any around me. I just had some Bud clips laying around. But
I
the
actually don't
idea,
have mine either.
yeah, no, it's all good. I honestly thought about the Bud Cups when I was transplanting from red solo cups one day downstairs in my basement, and I had a number of plants to transplant that day, and it was just one red solo cup after the other in the garbage. It's hard to like watch. Oh, there we have one.
When he's got
Perfect.
one. Perfect.
Sweet. Yes. So we have that separate bottom there that snaps on from the inside and makes it easy to fill it up. And then the other way, there we go. And then you just fill it up. And when it's time to transplant, all I have to really do is just push that bottom up and the whole
Yeah.
root ball comes out. But that wasn't the initial intent behind the Bud Cup. The initial intent was that we I didn't want to waste those red solo cups that I was throwing out. I didn't like to wash red solo cups because it's a pain. It's easier to just cut new ones, and you buy a
Yeah.
huge bag of them at Costco. You know what I mean? You just keep it there, and you never run out. So I had those, but I just one after the other feeling bad, and all of our products we use recycled plastic and recycled fabric for our pots, and we do like to be eco conscious about our decisions. And I was creating content, just throwing these cups out, and I was like, oh, this is not right. We can't do this. So I was thinking about washing them and reusing them, but then I was like, no, but that really sucks. And then I was like, okay, what are some alternatives to red solo cups that I can get? And you have those little 4-inch pots that you can buy at Home Depot. They're like just maybe this big,
Like the
this
little
tall.
nursery
Yeah.
cups or whatever,
Yeah,
basically.
exactly. A little bit like not those little tiny plugs, but the bigger version of it. And
Yeah.
but I was like, they have those holes in the bottom, and they're still not easy to clean because you have to come from the inside, and all of those corners. If you have anything left over, like bacteria from the last batch, you can't really get rid of
Yeah.
it. So then I was like, oh, one solution to wash a cup easier, especially the red solo cup too, because it's deep, so it's hard to get your hand in there to wash all the way to the bottom.
Yeah.
Then I thought if you can have a removable bottom, that would allow you to wash it in two parts, just like Bunny was showing over there, right? So you have one cup, and then you can put your hand through from the bottom. Exactly. So it's easy to wash from the bottom,
Yeah.
easy to wash from the top, and then you wash that separate plate. And there's no corners. There's nothing for any thing to get stuck, right? So that was really the initial idea. And then I made a prototype. Actually, this 3D printer right beside me over here. There's a roll of a 3D print over there. You can see the full
Nice.
thing there.
Mhm.
That's
That's where all the magic happens.
That's where it all comes from. That's right. So I started testing it, and it worked for that purpose. The mechanism worked, but then when it was time to transplant, and I went to kind of flip it, it was the thing just came off super easily, and that's when I pushed the bottom, and the whole plant came out, and I was like, wow, this is actually super easy to transplant as well, you know. So it was kind of like
Yeah.
this accident that kind of happened, and it just like I just pulled out this whole like root ball out of the bud cup, and or that prototype at the time. And after that, so that prototype was still very low to the ground. So then we added like the feet to make it like higher off the ground, and the little plate was flat. So then we added that kind of like convex shape to let the water
Yeah.
drip, and little things on the side. So just kind of like improved it one iteration after the other. And the last kind of like change that we made was making them a little bit like shorter and wider versus tall, like a red solo cup, because they're very like they tip over very easily. Whereas the bud cups
Right.
being a little bit wider, they don't fall over that easily, right? So that was the
Fair.
last thing. And then yeah, one thing leads to another. And then we made the molds for them to actually make them properly, not 3D printed, but like out of proper
Yeah.
super high quality plastic. Like the plastic we use is the same plastic used in aerospace, used in electronics and everything. So it's not the type of plastic you get with other gardening products, which is that soft kind of like almost stinky plastic. If you go to gardening
Yeah.
stores and you smell those pots, they're like they're you know, you wouldn't put your food in them. Let's put it that way. You know what I
I
mean?
used to work
Yeah.
when I was younger, I used to work in plastic injection molding. So
Okay.
I used to be around all those machines when they were purging the machines off, burning that material off. And there was times where like the alarm would go off and we'd have to evacuate the building on some of them because like it's such a it's there was one that they used, it was formaldehyde was in there. And it was such a strong smell, it would like burn your eyes and your lungs and everything. So I know exactly what you mean when you say that stinky plastic. I think it was called Delrin or something like that. I think
Yeah. Yeah.
was the plastic, yeah.
Yeah. No,
Yeah,
Delrin is
some of it's bad.
totally. I mean,
But you
it's
guys are
cheap, right?
using yeah, and you guys are using like the food grade, dishwasher safe, which means it's not heat sensitive
Exactly.
and
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, if
you can actually
if you put a lot of heat to it and don't put it to the test, you know what I mean? But
yeah,
it's
I
it's
don't mean
not.
like set it beside the
You throw it in
campfire or
the
something like that,
fire,
but
it will melt.
Exactly.
yeah.
That's right. That's right. It's not fireplace proof.
Yeah, but
But
you
Yeah.
can
no,
run them through
totally.
the dishwasher so you can actually like properly like disinfect something. Like disinfect the cups that way with
Yeah.
it from the dishwasher and stuff, which I thought was super cool when I heard that. So that's
Yeah,
definitely a
I ran one of the first ones that we got just to test the material like 30 times in the dishwasher. Like I just left it in the dishwasher, and then we just kept loading and unloading with our own dishes. And 30
yeah,
times later, the thing still like held its shape and it works perfectly. And
Nice.
it
nice.
was, and I mean, 30 times if you're using them for every grow, that's a few years in the making of using it
Oh
reusable,
yeah,
right? So I did
yeah,
one after the other just to, you know, actually try and wear them a little bit quicker. But that's one of the advantages too, is just be able to be reusable. And, you know, a lot of people rip on them. It's like, oh, why wouldn't you just use your red solo cup? It's so much cheaper. And it is. If you don't like, if you don't care about wasting, you use Delrin pots and red solo cups and all of that
yep.
good stuff. You know what I mean? But we saw
But
something, you know.
it's no different than regular pots. I mean, you can go and buy the nice fabric pots from any company, or you can go to Home Depot and buy yourself a $5 5-gallon pail.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like there, yeah, of course, there's other options out there, but like you said, if you don't want to be throwing stuff away and wasting over time in the long run, it's cheaper.
Oh, absolutely. And it's like, you know, I don't know. I'm always in my garden, and I'm never looking for ways to make it cheaper necessarily, because I think the way that, you know, once you learn how to grow, you can grow very affordably. Like you can grow really
For
good
sure.
stuff, you know what I mean? And you can still afford to buy the best and still grow a lot, you know what I mean? So that's where I
Yep.
think that, like, when I think of our brand, we're just like there to upgrade the garden. You know what I mean? So
Yep.
yes, you can buy cheaper for sure. You know what I mean? But if you want
Yeah.
to upgrade it, then you can upgrade it and, you know, have more pleasure growing, have more fun with the process, and like know that your plants are, you know, in the best place that they can be. Right.
Absolutely. I love
Yeah.
when my garden looks good too, not just the plants, but when my pots look nice or my cups look nice or my cloning area looks nice or I like when when things look good.
It's where we go to relax. It's where we go to meditate. It's our getaway. So if it's all dingy looking and not eye catching, you don't want to spend time there. So when you have, your tent looking good and you got nice looking products, it makes you want to spend more time there.
Yeah, exactly.
For sure. So like people, that go camping, you can, go camping with cheaper tents or with better tents. It's just a matter of choice,
Yeah.
really, right? So it's kind of, I think that with your garden, like you said there, Bunny, when you're spending your time there, not only do you want your plants to look good, you want your gear to look good because it's going to make your plants look good, and then you clean it all up and it looks nice and tidy. You know what I mean? So,
And then you feel good.
Yeah, exactly. I used to have like a lot of tools in the beginning, just like trying everything, to now just having like as few tools as I can, but then I have really nice tools. You know what I mean? So you just
Yeah,
you use
exactly.
what you need, and then like they're really good. You'll do the job, and it works most of the time. Actually, this last couple of plants that I grew weren't the greatest. My humidity here, my place is like 30 to 35% when the furnace kicks in, and I didn't have like supplemental humidifying downstairs because I'm like, oh, they're flowering plants, they'll be okay. Like they're pulling in that low humidity, but inside of the tent, it was staying at like 55 to 60%, but they didn't like it. The buds, they came out like tiny, just very tiny buds. The plant looks green and lush and full of crystals, but the buds were just tiny. And it's funny because the stalk and the plant and the branches are so thick, it could have supported like 4 or 5 times the weight, but the buds just came out, small. And I was very surprised. It was the first time that like everything was on point, but the one factor that wasn't was, humidity being a bit low on the intake. And lesson learned. Next time, just gotta get that. The only thing about humidifiers is that it sucks having to fill them up every day. You know what I mean? It's just
yes,
it's such a pain. I love growing cannabis. I just don't like filling humidifiers.
All the work that goes along with it. A lot of people don't realize when they get into growing cannabis, they think you just pop a seed in the dirt and turn your light on and walk away, and you come back in a couple months and you got these beautiful buds. A lot of people don't realize how much work we actually do in our gardens. Even if you only have 4 plants or 5 plants, it's a lot of work. So,
It is.
That's funny, but
it's as much work as you want to put into it. You know what I mean? I've been like, I had a baby 10 months ago. She's going to be 10 in 5 days. So 10 months, almost 10 months ago. And since then, I've been looking at ways to like automate as much as possible and not have to spend much time. So having to go downstairs to fill up a massive humidifier every day is kind of like, how can I not do that? You know what I mean? But I feel like when it gets cold and the furnace kicks in and it's 30-35% humidity, we need to keep a humidifier in the bedroom, otherwise you wake up and your throat's dry and you're coughing, you know what I mean, because it's just so dry. But
that's how it is here.
I get nosebleeds in the wintertime because when the furnace is on, it's such dry air. I'll wake up in the morning and I'll have had a nosebleed exactly because of that. So it's the same thing. You got to keep a humidifier, even if it's just a small one. You got to have something in there, just substitute. So
exactly.
When you first started, were you one of, like you were talking about, you used to have a lot of tools and now you have much fewer tools but nicer tools. Were you one of those people when you first started that where you had to go out and get everything you saw for tools, nutrients?
I tried a lot of things for sure. Nutrients. I tried a number of brands, and I tried doing different things with the nutrients as well. Different like pots, lights, fans, all sorts of setups that I did. And it's funny because you learn that some things have shorter life cycles than others. Some products have they last longer than others. Some go faster. And some do what they say they do, some don't. So that's like when you start kind of like making your choices and discarding what works and keeping what doesn't. And that's one of the things that we decided as a brand for growers, we're new or not, is like, if you are going to get something from us, we want at least to give you the last product you're gonna need. You know what I mean? Not something that you're gonna have to like ditch and then get something else on top of that, right? So that's what I miss.
which is super cool because a lot of companies out there, they want to put an expiration date on things to keep you coming back. But you guys are the opposite. You guys are providing something that really, I mean, as long as you take care of it, it's
It's
like those
good
bud cups.
forever.
You could probably have them forever, really. I mean, bud clips, I've only ever broke one. I've only ever broke one, and I've had, I don't even know how many. I've had hundreds of them, so I've only ever broke one clip, and that was my fault because I left it on too long, and my plants got too big and it popped it off. But
Yeah.
correct me if
Which
I'm
is a
wrong.
good thing.
I think you guys designed them that way, didn't you? To make so that they will break before they hurt your plants.
Yeah, so we made them with a certain thickness that the plant will either the little arms will just bend and still like not break, but it will bend enough in a way that doesn't go back, or the little middle will just break off. And
Yeah.
there was one batch that we actually, as soon as it was made, we had to like reject the whole batch because the middles they were breaking a little bit too
Mhm.
easily. So with that, it's hard to make that like perfect ideal thickness. But
Yeah.
the way that they were designed, the original ones, and the way that they are today. Actually, the newest batch, we have a little like BudTrainer logo in the bottom of them, which doesn't really change the integrity of the product. But yeah,
Yeah.
if your plant is going to, if the branch is going to grow too thick, at least it's not going to restrain your plant as much. It's better
Yeah.
to, lose $1 a clip than to lose, I don't know how many dollars in bud that you're going to get from that
Exactly.
branch, right?
I was
So
gonna
For
say that I'd
sure.
much rather
Yeah.
break a clip than my plant, for sure.
that's right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
exactly.
Yeah. Yeah,
And there's
definitely.
very few people who actually break their branches with the bud clips. I think they might just not be aware of like plant training in general. Might train some branches that are older,
Yeah.
and then I've broken branches before myself by being like, I
Oh,
can
yeah.
do it, and then you just like think you can do it. You try to doctor it, and then the next day you come and the branch is broken. You know what I mean? So with that,
Yeah.
it's not the clip's fault. It's the gardener's fault when the
Absolutely,
Yeah.
yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, anytime that's what I was saying, like, the only one time I did, it was 100% on me, it was my fault. And it was one of the ones that was tucked back in the corner, and, I got all the other ones off, and I thought I was paying close attention, and then, when I saw 2 pieces of a bud clip in my pot, I went, "How did I do that?" And then, I could see where it was, so I knew exactly what I did, but
yeah,
grower's fault, for sure.
yeah, it happens. It
So,
happens.
nice. Yeah, and, like, with pH pens and stuff like that back in the day, you were talking about, you guys make a product that you don't have to keep replacing. With pH pens, I used to buy the cheap $15 Amazon yellow special, and I was replacing them, like, once a month. And then finally I realized if I go spend $130 on this one, I don't have to replace it anymore. So
Yeah.
same kind of deal. It was like you said, you just kind of over time you learn to buy better, upgrade your garden, and start using quality products instead of cheap products. So no, I think that's super cool for sure.
Yeah, especially for growers that are, that want to stay committed to growing, right? Like when you're doing it for the first time, I understand buying cheap. Like when I'm trying something different for the first time, I'm not gonna, get all my money and spend it on that because if I don't like it,
Yeah,
I won't like it. But once I do something, I'm like, oh, I really like this. Then you start looking into buying
yeah,
tools
Upgrading.
that will exactly upgrade your tools and buy things that will last you longer.
yeah, absolutely. You were talking about automating your garden a little bit more. Have you used any like self-watering, like auto pots or the AC Infinity bases or anything like that? Have you ever tried those?
I've used little simple inline pumps, those little dripper pumps since I
Yep.
started growing. I mean, my first year I grew outdoors, so it was just, and I planted the plants on the ground eventually, so it was easy to do the watering. But
Yeah.
from the first time I started growing indoors, I wanted that automatic watering in it. So I've used these little pumps that you can get on Amazon for the longest time, and they're not great. They're like $50 or $60 each, but they work. Like, they do the job really, really well. And it's easier to keep things clean as well. So I don't like the watering bases so much, just because of all of the rooting and everything that comes from there. And then, like, cleaning that after a grow is so much work. You know what I mean? So with that,
Yeah.
You got to clean them in between too, or they get slimy and
Slimy.
stuff like that. I learned that after I bought them and tried them and talked about how great they are, because they start off and everything's wonderful until it wasn't.
right,
So
yeah. And those systems, they all look really nice when they're nice and clean, and you just set them up. And then after, there's all of that calcium buildup everywhere, and it's just like not pretty anymore. You're like, oh man, do I want to wash this another time? Right. So that's where I'd
Exactly.
rather just fabric pots on top of a tray, get a little bit of runoff, here and there, and then just throw the water out and put another tray under it, and it's nice and easy. Whereas the little watering pumps as well, with the dripper irrigation, you don't have, there's no cleaning those hoses. If you use something like Drip Clean, for example, in your line, or the Athena Cleanse, for example, that just keeps your lines clean without buildup, you don't need to do anything. Actually, I haven't cleaned my lines or my tanks in a long time, just because there's no buildup. You know what I mean? And it just keeps
Yeah,
going.
because you're using these products in there, and they kind of cleans as you go.
That's right. Yeah, exactly. So, but these little pumps, I feel like they'll last you a year or two, and then they just stop working. I don't
Yeah.
know if it's humidity in the room that like makes them stop, or what it is, but either they just stop pumping properly, or the little. One time I opened one, and the little hose inside of the pump that connects one little tube to the other was kind of cracked, and then it wasn't pulling properly. So
Yeah.
I think that, $50-$60 you get, what you get. But the fact that I
A
can
year or
just
two, yeah.
I set up my garden
Yeah.
every a Sunday. I mix my stuff and my nutrients, and it like typically lasts me to the other Sunday. You know what I mean? Like, I don't have to
Nice.
do anything in between. I could set up for 2 weeks if I wanted to, but because the nutrients, I'm typically mixing whatever the schedule is for that week. 2 weeks, then you
Yeah.
miss that in between, right? So I usually do once a week mixing of nutrients. It's the only time I personally don't have much pleasure mixing nutrients. I think it's a chore, you know what I mean? I'd much rather
Yeah.
be transplanting or defoliating or like doing some training on my plants than mixing nutrients, but they are essential, right? Like to get a good yield. So I try to just get it
Absolutely.
done
Yeah.
nice and quick, no maintenance. Also watering, like, I'm not going to go downstairs like water every single day. There's always so much going on with a baby. You know what I mean? It's just
Yeah.
needs to be-
For sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Nice. I was just gonna say something related to what you were just talking about. Now I can't remember what I was gonna say.
Oh, and there's the best
Oh,
part. There was, sorry, let me just the best
that's
thing that
okay.
I did. So the upgrade last year was installing an RO water system that pretty much connects with my pipes that come from the street. And there was
Yep.
just this extra outlet that was available, like like for the hose, and then I just plugged in the RO water, and then it's also a thin 1/4 inch hose. Plugged it all the way in across like the basement to where my tanks are. I have two 13-gallon tanks for my tents downstairs in our bud studio where we shoot our growing buds. And all I have to do now is just open that main nozzle there, and then it starts feeding the tanks all the way. It drips
Nice.
very slowly from the RO, but a few hours, then I just go and close it, and my tanks are filled. I just put the nutrients in. I don't have to carry buckets of water and dump water, from a sink
That's the
anymore.
way
So
to do
now
it.
it was such a good
Yeah.
upgrade, and now the plants love it too,
Yeah.
because the tap water here, I think in London as well, it's probably hard water. Where we are
Yeah.
in Waterloo, it's like 0.7 EC, 0.8 EC. So you don't have much room
Yeah.
for fertilizer anymore, because you're already using up
Yeah.
half of it with like the calcium, the magnesium, whatever
All
comes
the
in your water.
heavy
Right?
metals and all that stuff. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
Yeah, I've thought about doing the whole RO thing. I don't know if I have it. Oh, I use like an RV filter for mine. So it's just like the little blue, buy them on Amazon. They're pretty cheap. It's just like a charcoal filter, and it doesn't get everything, but I mean, it gets some of the stuff out of there. In my mind, it helps. I think with chlorine and stuff like that, because our water is so heavily chlorinated. Bunny and I were
Yeah.
talking about this the other day. Sometimes you can smell it coming out of the tap.
Oh
oh
So
yeah.
yeah.
I thought about doing the RO system. I mean, I don't know. I don't know though. To me, it seemed like a big investment. But nowadays, you can get them for a very, very reasonable price. So now you can buy them on Amazon for like $150, and you
Yeah.
just replace the filters every so often. So it's
Yeah, I thought I
definitely
needed to. I thought I needed to replace my filters because it had been a while and they started changing color. And but then I checked the EC of the water still coming out as zero. Which means like it's removing everything.
working. Yeah,
However, they say like when the flow starts getting really slow, that's when you really have to replace it. So that's just what I've been keeping an eye on. But the beauty about it too is like. I still take our water not just for the plants, but to make coffee, for example. All of the coffee that we
right.
make now is our water. You don't get that buildup in your kettle and all over
Yeah.
your coffee
Yeah.
machine. So that's once you have the raw water system, it's actually nice to just use it for other
Well,
things.
yeah, and you can use it for your humidifiers and stuff like that, because I've even heard of the using tap water in your humidifiers. I've even heard of like the calcium building up in your carbon filters and stuff
Yeah,
like that
yeah.
for your inline
Yep.
fans, which is that's a pretty cool thing too. So the more and more you talk about it, the more and more it sounds intriguing. So I might look into something like
Well, Kurt is even more dedicated. He gets like the jugs of water from the store like every week or two, and he like fills up his trunk full of jugs, brings them all out, and like just to feed his plants RO water. You know what I mean? So
yeah.
it's your plants will thank you. That's for sure.
We had somebody
Yeah.
on the show on Friday night, and he does the same thing. Well, he has them all now, and he fills them up with spring water. And he came into his grow room. He didn't know that there was a little crack in one of those containers at the bottom. So he came
Oh,
into his grow room, and the whole thing was completely soaked. It just leaked out
oh
5 gallons
no!
of water.
Oh
Oh
no!
man,
That's a lot of
yeah,
water. Yeah.
on carpet too. So he was just like, oh, he didn't know what was happening. He just knew everything was soaked. So, but yeah, do you want to tell everybody about your guys' show? Because on Fridays at 4 p.m. Eastern, you and Kurt do your own show.
That's right.
What's that?
Yeah, we're doing growing buds on every Friday, but now we're doing every last Friday of the month.
Okay.
We had one just recently. Another one is going to be Feb 28th, and then every last Friday of the month we go live, and it's 4 p.m. EST, 1 p.m. PST. Me and Kurt, and we typically have a guest as well. We just talk to the crowd. We answer questions. We get the
Amazing.
fans to come on and share the screen, just kind of like we're sharing here. We get them to share their screen and show us their plants as well. So whoever
Yeah.
whoever has a beautiful garden wants to show off. And sometimes people have plants with problems and they just show them to us asking for help, right? So
Yeah.
either uh, are welcome. We kind of consider it kind of like office hours with me and Kurt, where people can come ask any questions about the products, about growing, about growing a home or commercial production, which is also part of my
Yeah.
background. So it's a cool
Love that.
space.
Mhm.
Nice. It's a fun show. I got the pleasure of coming on. I think twice now. I think I've
Yeah,
been
I think
on.
so.
I think it's been a couple times for sure.
Yeah.
So yeah, well, you guys are a lot of fun to hang out with and shoot the shit about growing and just shop talk. It's fun.
Very knowledgeable as
So
well.
Thank you.
yeah, yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, we
So
love coffee shop.
absolutely. Are you putting Kurt through the same training that Niagara put you through? Because
Yeah,
I know you
lots.
were a grower before Kurt was, so you've been kind of teaching him and showing him the ropes over the last few years. So you putting him through the ringer over there?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, a lot of what I learned in agri college is what really allowed us to create a simple process for people to be able to grow their plants with, and that's what I really taught Kurt. So the bud trainer method that we call. Wait, wait, sorry, my baby's crying in the background. Kurt, what he pretty much does today, and what I do is our 7-step process from step 1 is planting your seeds, step 2 is transplanting, step 3 is topping, step 4 is training, which you spend a lot of time on. 5 is the defoliation, which sometimes is done with training hand in hand. And then once all of that is done, you just wait until your plant is ready for harvesting, drying, trimming, and curing, right? Which is the last 2 steps there. So with that, we basically, what I taught him was what that process is in, I guess, a more complex way, and that's what both him and I do today. And we like to practice what we preach because it actually works. You know what I mean? And that's the thing about commercial growers that I've learned is that they don't like complexity, and I find that a lot of home growers, they like complexity, and complexity costs money. It makes, there's risk, things don't go the same way every time. So commercial growers, they don't want that. They want simplicity. They want they want
They
nutrients
want
that
that
work. They want,
guarantee almost.
exactly.
Yeah.
They much rather go for
Yeah.
the guarantee than try something crazy that might not work, right? So that's really what we like to do when growing at home. It's just like, if you want to grow super high quality stuff, you need to keep it simple and just give the strain or genetic what it wants. And a lot of times it's not like everything under the moon. It's just a few basics
Yeah.
that the
Yeah.
plant's looking for.
I think us as home growers, though, I think sometimes we go on the internet, we go on YouTube, we go on Instagram, and we see, okay, so H is doing this, and Kurt's doing this, and Bunny's doing this, and I'm doing this, and all these people are seeing it, and then they go, well, I want to do what H is doing, and I want to do what Kurt's doing, and I want to do what Bunny's doing, and they want to mash it all together into their own thing. And then before they realize it, they're doing 150 different things to their plants, and they don't know what's causing it to grow nicely. They don't know what's causing it to die. They don't know what's what. They don't know what's doing what. So keeping it simple, I think,
Tend to
is probably,
overcomplicate. Yeah.
yeah, keeping it simple, I think, is definitely the best method, at least to
Yeah.
get your foot in the door, learn how to do it, keep it super simple at the start for sure. And then if you want to overcomplicate things like we all tend to do, ease into it a little bit so you know what each thing is doing. That would be my advice anyways, but yeah.
Totally. Yeah, that's the thing. Everybody does it different, but different is okay. Like it's simple is
Yep.
where it really goes in. So Kurt, like for example, he
Yeah.
loves growing in cocoa. I like growing in soil. So we have our differences, but we still like to always go back down to keeping it simple instead of thinking, oh, can I add more? It's more so like, can I remove something else, and still continue
Yeah.
getting like super high quality stuff? Or can I replace something that takes a long time with something that takes no time and still get, a great result or even better, right?
Yeah.
So that's where we love
Exactly.
plant training, because you add a little bit of time to the plant and then you get, great yields, right? So it's
Yeah.
those basic things that when added together, good genetics, good fertilizer, good nutrients, and a good amendment for your roots, and then you add some good training and lights on top of that at the right humidity, and your plants are off to the races, right? So
Absolutely. How did you get into the whole training thing? Like, because you were talking about you were at Niagara, and it's more of like a commercial type of a course. So how did you go from that to learning that style to wanting to be more hands-on and training your plants? How did that all come about?
that's funny because it was actually the other way around. I learned how to train before I went to
Mm.
college on my first 2 years of growing at home, because um, during my like self learning online before I went to college, just learning from every blog and YouTube channel and everything I could find,
Yeah.
I stumbled across these train plants, and I would see that they had so many like colas, and I was like, wow, how can you do like one plant like that? Why doesn't everybody do it like that? So it
Yeah.
was just very obvious to me that I needed to train my plants, and then I just really dug in and started topping and like training, and even my first couple of plants, they didn't look great by any means, and I think I overtrained the
Yeah.
hell out of them because the yields weren't very big either. But I still tried, so I yeah, I was obsessed with one plant looking like multiple plants, and that's really what took over. And we even did a study in agriculture with the bud clips on plants trained versus plants untrained, and the average that we got per trained plant was slightly higher. However, when you looked at the entire bench, because you have so many plants close to each other, the benches with the control plants ended up yielding 5% higher because they also got closer to the lights that we didn't
Right.
adjust for the trained plants. When you train your plants, the lights need to come closer, right? So that because your plants are
Yeah.
not as high. So in a way, we still believe in plant training, but when you do it commercially, one thing that we learned was that it's a lot of work to put the bud clips on, to take the bud clips off, and then to have to wash them and so on. So commercially, it doesn't really make sense for
Yeah.
what the difference was. But when you grow at home and you only have 4 plants, and you have a 4x4 tent, or you have the outdoors, the more you train your
Yeah.
plants, you can turn your plants into these
Yeah.
monsters, right? So that's where it becomes
Yeah.
really worth it. Some people, they'll grow outdoors once a season, and that's enough bud for the entire year because they train their plants. They get a pound per plant, and then you don't
Yeah.
need much more than that for the rest of the year.
Nice. Yeah, I like that. I know a lot of people don't train their outdoor plants, but I am definitely one that does. I used to live next to a public walkway, and I had to keep mine below the fence line, which was only 6 feet, maybe just a little over 6 feet, but not much. So they had to stay about my height, but I used to train them out, so they were like 8 feet wide each, but they were only up to like here on me. So I was always training my outdoor plants, and that's kind of where I learned about training, was trying to keep them low. And I didn't even know that I was increasing the yield at that point. I just knew I was keeping them lower so people couldn't see them over the fence. And then
See,
it
training for
wasn't,
me is definitely new, but I've been liking it because again, I was an outdoor grower, but I didn't have that issue where I grew. We let it grow as tall as it wanted. So when I started
yeah,
growing indoors, I didn't want my plants to be small. I didn't realize the benefit of training them and having them shorter and grow out bigger, and so I learned actually most of that through BudTrainer, watching the videos and practicing it on my own indoors. And yeah, I would definitely recommend training if you're doing indoors, outdoor as well.
yeah, most definitely. And I saw you were growing that one on your deck last summer. That was, you had the scrog net in there, and it was gorgeous, that plant. So
Yeah,
that was
no,
pretty
thank
cool. A
you.
lot of people don't do a scrog outdoors, so I thought that was pretty neat to see you guys doing that.
For
So is
sure.
that
Yeah.
something that you do indoors as well, or are you just more into the clips and training them out?
No, I always typically put a net, not a scrog, but just like a support net on inside of my tents, so that the buds, when they get thicker and heavier, they have something to kind of like lay on.
Lean on, yeah.
Exactly.
Yep.
Yeah.
Nice. Yeah, because I think, and again, you probably know this better than I do, but if a bud gets too heavy and the branch flops over, it kind of sends that signal to the plant to stop growing, almost like a it feels like it's gonna break the branch or something like that, so it stops putting weight on.
Yeah,
So
plants, they like know how to distribute that to optimize their growth, so the hormones, they shift, and exactly that happens.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, it's crazy what these plants can do.
Oh
Absolutely
yeah.
crazy. So,
They're
but we're coming up.
resilient, that's for
Yeah,
sure.
yeah, they are very, very. I notice it when I grow outdoors the most. Like when you see the rain come through, or you get these big storms. Like Not the
Oh
summer that just
yeah.
passed, but the one before. I had a big hailstorm come through. It just turned all my plants into Swiss cheese. And they bounced back. There was nothing wrong with them. They were fine. You know, they looked like hell, but after a couple weeks, they looked like nothing happened to them. So it's
Mhm.
pretty amazing what they can do. Self-healing.
They're
So
resilient.
very. But we are coming up to the hour. So do you want to let
We
everybody
are.
know where they can find you and get a hold of you guys, find your
Yeah,
products, stuff like that?
for sure. This went by super fast. Whenever we're talking about
It
cannabis, feels
did.
like time just
It
just
does.
flies. But yeah, if you guys can find us at BudTrainer on Instagram and Facebook. Facebook, I think it's BudTrainer with an extra R because someone back there took BudTrainer already. Some asshole, I don't know who. But just kidding. On Twitter, it's at the BudTrainer. Someone else took the BudTrainer as well. Instagram is the only one that we have BudTrainer, only BudTrainer. And YouTube, you can also find us at BudTrainer. We do have the BudTrainer there as well. So that's where we go live on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, X, all of those platforms do it for those growing buds as well. That's where you guys will find us. And Kurt, he is a meme master. He comes up with the funniest memes in the cannabis space. So you guys got to follow BudTrainer to check them out.
Yes.
Yeah, you guys
But
do
thank
have
you
some funny
so
memes on
much.
there.
No, thank you guys
Yes.
for having me. This is a pleasure.
No,
Oh,
anytime.
we are
You
so
guys are
glad.
always welcome. You guys are always welcome.
Yes.
And if you guys ever want to pop on a Friday night, we do a Show Your Grow. So Friday nights at 9 p.m. I know you don't like to stay up too late, so Friday nights at 9 p.m. we have people come on and show their gardens. Anybody from the community is welcome. So if you guys ever are bored on a Friday night and you want to stop by and show your gardens, you're more than welcome.
100%. No, that sounds great. Thank you for the invite. And thank
Absolutely,
you
man.
for having us
Anytime.
again.
Yes, it was a pleasure having you
Thank you.
finally. So, all right, buddy. We
All
will
right.
we'll talk at you soon, and we really appreciate you coming on.
All righty. Have a great one, guys. Talk
All
soon.
right,
Have a good night.
you as well.
Thank you. You as well.
Bye.
Bye. What a great show. Such
That
an
was fun.
amazing person.
Super smart. Super
Very,
smart. My phone's ringing. Yeah, super
very
smart.
smart.
He knows
But
what
yeah,
he's doing. He's very well educated, and like you said, he's an engineer, and he's been trained in school to grow cannabis commercially. So,
yes. So
yes,
thank you
yes.
all for joining us, and we will see you on Friday. And stay tuned for our next interview.
Yeah. Thanks.
Peace.
Peace.